I used to think betrayal was the worst pain imaginable until I realized I'd become the betrayer. It didn't happen all at once. It happened the moment I stopped caring who got hurt, as long as it wasn't me. I was 32 when the woman I thought I'd spend the rest of my life with, my fiancée, Sarah, asked for a break so she could revisit things with her cheating ex. At that point, my life was steady. Predictable, even. I had a house, my house, that I bought years before I ever met Sarah. 3 bedrooms, nice neighborhood, the kind of place you could build a future in. I'd saved for it, plus used part of an inheritance from my grandparents. Sarah moved in 2 years into our relationship, and we'd been engaged for about a year. 4 years together total. Things were good, or at least I thought they were. She helped with groceries and utilities, but the property was mine, and that was never an issue between us. We talked about marriage, maybe kids someday, and it all felt solid. Stable. Sarah used to tell me stories about her ex, James, the guy before me. How he cheated, how devastated she was, how she'd never go back to that. I believed her. I thought she'd processed it, healed, and moved on. Then about 6 months before everything unraveled, something shifted. Subtle at first. James's name started coming up again. Randomly. Oh, I saw a post from James the other day. Or, a friend mentioned James got a new job. I didn't think much of it. People bring up their past sometimes, right? But over time, it wasn't just random anymore. She started talking about her past like it was unfinished business. Wondering what if she'd made different choices. She'd get lost in thought, glued to her phone, giving me vague answers whenever I asked if something was bothering her. Just tired, she'd say. Work's been crazy. But I knew something was different. Then, about 3 months before the break, she told me James had reached out. Out of nowhere, he had messaged her, apologizing for what he'd done, saying he'd changed, that he wanted to make amends. I remember sitting there, just silent. My stomach sank. Sarah said she wasn't sure how to respond but felt she owed it to herself to hear him out. I told her closure doesn't usually come from the person who broke you, it comes from within. But I also didn't want to be controlling. I believed in trust. I told myself, if I start forbidding things, what kind of relationship is that? But the contact didn't stop there. Over the next few weeks, she was on her phone constantly, texting, taking calls, sometimes stepping outside to get better signal. I wasn't stupid. I finally asked what was going on, and she admitted they'd been talking pretty regularly. According to her, James had changed. He'd grown. He regretted everything. He wanted to make things right. And suddenly, Sarah was reminiscing. The places they'd gone, inside jokes they used to have, stuff I'd never even heard her mention before. It was like she'd put on rose-colored glasses and started rewriting history. Then came the comparisons. She'd say things like, our relationship is so comfortable and stable, then pause. Sometimes I wonder if, maybe too stable? Like, where's the spark? You know that feeling when someone drops a casual sentence that feels like a grenade? That was it. Those were the exact things she'd once said she loved about us, our calm, our security, our partnership. And now, suddenly, they were too much? I tried to talk about it. To fix whatever was breaking. She said she loved me, that she valued our life, but then she'd start doubting her own feelings mid-conversation. She'd bring up James again and again, asking if maybe she'd given up on something too soon. Then came the coffee. She told me James wanted to meet. Just to talk. To finally get closure, she said. I told her honestly, I wasn't okay with that. But she went anyway. That night, she came home quieter than usual. Her face was unreadable. When I asked how it went, she just said, it was interesting. He's really grown. That's when the air changed between us. The next few days, she was distant, polite, but far away. The kind of distance that feels like she's already gone, even when she's sitting right next to you. Then came the Saturday. The day everything flipped. I'd planned a simple day together, a hike, maybe lunch, something normal to reconnect. But before we could even leave, she asked if we could talk. We sat in the living room, the same spot where we'd once looked through wedding venues. She looked nervous but strangely calm at the same time. She started by saying how much she appreciated me, how grateful she was for the life we'd built. My heart sank because I knew that tone. It's the prelude to something awful. Then she said it, she was confused about her feelings. That seeing James again had brought up emotions she didn't expect. That maybe she'd made a mistake leaving him. She said she needed space. Not a breakup, just a break. A few weeks, maybe a month or two, to explore her feelings and see what was real. She wanted to stay with her sister, maybe rent a place temporarily. And during that time, she planned to date James, to find out whether what she felt was real or just nostalgia. She looked me in the eye and said, if it turns out to be nothing, I'll come back more certain than ever that you're the one. This could actually make our relationship stronger. Can you imagine someone saying that with a straight face? She wanted to date her ex to make sure she really loved me. And the worst part? She asked for my understanding. My patience. I just sat there, numb, hearing my future fall apart one calm, rational sentence at a time. But that was only the beginning. It's been about 3 weeks since I made my first post about everything that happened. Since then, I've read through a mountain of comments and messages, some from people who'd lived through something eerily similar, others who just wanted to say they understood. Honestly, I didn't expect that kind of response. So before anything else, I want to say thank you. It meant more than I can explain. A few common questions kept popping up, so I figured I'd address them all here. 1. The house. Let's start with the most frequent one, the house. To make it absolutely clear, that home was mine. 100%. Bought years before Sarah and I got engaged, paid for with my savings and part of an inheritance from my grandparents. Her name wasn't on the deed, the mortgage, nothing. When she moved in, she pitched in for groceries, utilities, and small shared expenses, the kind of stuff any couple living together would share, but she had no equity and no legal claim to the property. We both acknowledged that arrangement from the beginning. So when she told me she wanted to take a break, which really meant she wanted to go date her ex, that foundation of cohabitation vanished overnight. It wasn't me being harsh, it was simply reality. She wasn't my fiancée anymore, and I wasn't her safety net. I boxed up her belongings neatly, called her sister Clara to arrange a pickup, and Sarah came by, calm but cold, to collect everything. No drama. No screaming. Just two people closing a door that would never reopen. I changed the locks afterward, both for security and sanity, especially since I planned to sell the house. And no, it wasn't an eviction. It was the logical end to a situation she'd chosen to end herself. 2. Why I acted so quickly. A lot of people said, "Man, that was fast," referring to how quickly I ended things, listed the house, and moved away. But this wasn't a knee-jerk reaction. The break conversation didn't happen out of nowhere. It was the final nail in a coffin that had been slowly built for weeks, her emotional distance, her constant texting with James, the nostalgia, the comparisons. And when she asked for that break, she wasn't asking for space to think. She was asking for permission to date and sleep with her ex while keeping me on standby. She said those words, "I need to see if what I feel for him is real." That was all I needed to hear. I wasn't going to sit around waiting for her to decide if I was still the best option. I wasn't going to be a placeholder while she tested the waters. I told her she was free to explore whatever she needed to, but she'd be doing it without me. Once that decision was made, everything else just followed. I'm not the type to wallow. I'm a planner. I listed the house below market for a quick sale, took a job offer across the country that had been in the back of my mind for months, and cut every tie cleanly. Fast, decisive, and final. 3. What happened with her family? Clara, Sarah's sister, ended up being the first one to really understand what went down. Sarah moved in with her right after our breakup, and of course Clara wanted to know what happened. At first, Sarah tried to spin it. Told her I'd overreacted, that I couldn't handle her needing some space. But Clara isn't naive, she pressed for details. Eventually, the truth came out, Sarah hadn't just wanted space, she wanted to date James. Clara told me later that she'd warned Sarah about this guy. She knew his history. She even said their parents had always liked me, said I was good for her. Responsible, reliable, grounded. When Sarah's parents found out, they were disappointed, not in me, but in her. They'd seen James destroy her once before, and now she was gambling her future on him again. They told her, point blank, that I hadn't caused any of this. Her choices had. 4. Life after the breakup. In the weeks that followed, Sarah tried reaching out. Texts, emails, even messages sent through mutual friends. I ignored them all. Eventually, she tried contacting a former coworker of mine, someone I still trusted, to pass along a message. So I had that colleague deliver one final response on my behalf. There would be no reconciliation. No conversations. No closure. Any further attempts to contact me would be considered harassment. I didn't wish her harm, I just wanted distance. Complete, unbreakable distance. I changed my phone number, updated every account, and tightened my privacy settings. It was a hassle, but it was also freeing. Like finally locking the door to a house you'll never walk back into. 5. What I heard later. About a week ago, Clara reached out one last time, unprompted, to give me an update. I hadn't asked, but she said she felt I should know. Apparently, things hadn't gone well for Sarah. James dumped her. Not quietly, either. According to Clara, he'd told mutual friends that Sarah was too intense and living in the past. Basically, he used her for an ego boost, then tossed her aside. Her job situation tanked too. She lost the position she'd had, something about unprofessional behavior, emotional instability, maybe both. Clara said she'd been struggling to find steady work since. Sarah eventually tried moving back in with her parents, but that didn't last. They gave her temporary shelter but told her flat out, she needed to face what she'd done, get therapy, and rebuild her life on her own. Apparently, she didn't take that well. She argued, blamed others, then stormed out again after a few weeks. The last I heard, she was staying with some old college friend, still trying to piece things together. Clara sounded torn, she loved her sister, but she was tired. Tired of cleaning up after her choices. Before we hung up, she said something that stuck with me. She has to hit rock bottom before she'll learn. You did the right thing by walking away. I thanked her, wished her family well, and told her I didn't need any more updates. Because honestly, I don't. My life is somewhere new now, new job, new city, new peace. Whatever happens to Sarah is her story to live with. Mine has already moved on. And I plan to keep it that way. It's been about 6 months since my last update, 7 since the whole thing started, and honestly, life feels completely different now. Peaceful. Settled. My world isn't defined by what happened anymore. Work's been great. I've taken on a few new projects that actually challenge me, the kind of work that reminds you why you started in your field in the first place. I've built a routine, morning coffee at the same little corner cafe, weekend hikes, dinners with the new friends I've made here. The city that once felt like a gamble now feels like home. Sometimes, when I look back at everything that happened with Sarah, it feels like watching someone else's life, like it all belonged to another version of me that doesn't exist anymore. I don't dwell on it. I don't replay it. I don't feel anger or sadness anymore, just distance. The kind of calm that comes from finally closing a book you'll never reopen. I haven't dated anyone new, and that's by choice. For once, I'm perfectly okay being single. I've been focusing on work, on my own growth, on the quiet kind of happiness that doesn't need validation. As for Sarah, well, the updates have pretty much stopped, thankfully. Clara, her sister, seems to have taken the hint that I don't want to hear anything more. I haven't heard from Sarah herself or her family in months, and that silence has been exactly what I needed. That said, about 2 months ago, I got one final bit of information, completely unprompted, from a former coworker back in my old city. Same guy who'd passed along my no contact message to her months before. He called me for a work-related question, and near the end of the conversation, he hesitated a bit before saying, "Hey, I don't know if you want to hear this, but turns out, Sarah's gone." Literally. From what he'd heard, she left the state altogether. After burning bridges with friends and having nowhere else to stay, she apparently decided to pack up and move, maybe to live with a distant relative, maybe to just disappear and start over somewhere new. He wasn't sure where she went, only that she wasn't in our old city anymore. When I heard that, I didn't feel much of anything. No bitterness, no pity. Just acceptance, maybe. It made sense. If I were her, I'd probably want to run from that mess too. And since then? Nothing. No more texts. No calls. No mysterious new numbers trying to slip through my blocks. Just quiet. And I've realized that silence is its own kind of closure. Everything I did after that breakup, selling the house, changing my number, moving across the country, rebuilding my life, it all had one goal: to start fresh. To stop living in the shadow of someone else's chaos. That goal's been met. Completely. So, this will be my last update. There's nothing left to say about Sarah or what happened. That chapter is finished. If there's one thing I've learned from all of it, it's that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do isn't fighting to fix what's broken, it's walking away, rebuilding quietly, and refusing to look back. And that's exactly what I've done.